the Shen and Shan Show, where Shenice, my mom,
and Shan the Pan
interview with LGBTQ plus professionals and entrepreneurs.
So let's get giddy and start the show.
Alrighty, guys, welcome to the Shen and Shan Show. I'm Shan.
And I'm Shenice. And we have great guests on today. We're so excited. We have the Dumpling Dudes. So we have Mike and Chih. Please, Shan, tell us how we know Mike and Chih.
Well, Outsmart Magazine, they're really good at connecting businesses. And so we were actually in the same magazine edition. I think it was Valentine.
Maybe.
Yeah, I think it's in March.
Yeah. And so we saw Dumpling Dudez, and then we started following them on Instagram. And I'm just like, man, we need to try this. Well, actually, I think you seen a post and you wrote them asking for a reminder.
Oh yeah, that's right. So basically, we're both featured in the same magazine. It just goes to show the power of the universe pulling things together, and the power of just publicity and getting your name out there. So we were featured. Our company, Empower Financial, was featured in Outsmart Magazine, which is Houston's gay magazine. And basically, we started following them, and then they made a post saying that they had a class coming up where they could teach you how to make dumplings, and they'll provide all the materials and everything you needed. And I was like, man, Shan, that sounds really good. I think we should try it. That would be great. And so we asked for a reminder. They sent a reminder. We got everything we needed for the class, and
we actually missed the first class.
Oh yes,
I forgot about that. That's right.
And then we kept everything in the freezer, and then we participated in the class after that, and here we are. So Shan, you went to pick up the dumplings and met them in person, but we're in COVID world, so we're always virtual now anyway. Right. So it was great to meet you during the class, and that was a lot of fun with other family and couples and all sorts of even kids and their parents, and it's great. Now
I'm probably gonna say this throughout the show, you guys. If you haven't done the class, go do the class. Okay, it is fun. I made even a baby Yoda. Dinosaur, what else?
Octopus.
So fun.
So make octopus that night. That's right.
Definitely check them out.
The octopus was my favorite. Yeah. I like that.
Nice.
And you gotta, man, we should have wore our aprons.
Yes, we did get aprons from Mike and Chih. Yeah, so much fun. Mike and Chih, please introduce yourselves, introduce your business. Tell us a little bit of background on you.
You want to go first? You go ahead. Okay. So my name is Mike. I'm from Houston, Texas originally. That's where I was born. My dad worked for oil and gas when we were growing up, so we moved around quite a bit. Ended up growing up in Bakersfield, California, and in Oklahoma, right outside of Tulsa. And then I actually graduated high school back in California again. So we went back again. And then when I was about in my 20s, I moved to Austin with my family again, and then started working in construction and home remodeling. And so actually that was my first iteration of a career. And the second time, then I went back to school and got a degree later, and became a chemical engineer, process engineer for a number of years before we took the jump into Dumpling Dudez and working for ourselves. So this is actually my third kind of career iteration, if you will. I traveled around a lot, love to travel. You want to talk a little about where you're from?
You know what, Mike, you kind of remind me of the guy off of Queer Eye, the interior designer.
Oh yeah,
Bobby, a little bit. I don't know, something about it seemed like you could be on Queer Eye. I could see.
Oh yeah.
I don't know what you would do. Maybe teach them how to make dumplings.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Then they would take away Anthony. Then they would take away Anthony. So.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. I don't want to take anybody's spot. No.
Just add one more person.
Yeah. Well, maybe just one more.
Or two more people.
Yeah.
Hey guys, my name is Chih, and I'm originally from Taiwan. My family moved here when I was 15 to Houston, to the Woodlands area, and then went to high school there, to the Woodlands High School, and then eventually went to University of Texas to get my engineering degree for mechanical engineer. I love cars. I always thought I would graduate and become some kind of car designer in a car company, but obviously that didn't happen. Ended up working in oil and gas as an engineer for the last, I think it's 18 years now, 18 years. So I pretty much just did what I'm supposed to do, being follow my American dream to keep moving up the ladder. I went from a engineer to junior engineer to senior engineer, and then somehow halfway between, I kind of switched over to marketing. So I became a marketing manager and then a marketing director at the end of my career. It's a lot of fun, but eventually I just kind of decide I kind of just follow other people's dream. Now what I'm supposed to do, I just jump off the cliff, jump up the ladder while I'm so close to the top, and then decide to do it over again as an entrepreneur.
Yeah, that's amazing. It sounds like, and now you both have a background in engineering.
Right.
Do y'all see that shine through on a daily basis? Do you use any of the things or the key concepts that you learn all the time?
Oh, yes. Okay.
Yeah, really? Okay, okay.
Yeah, definitely. So I joke, I used to write specs for gasoline, now I write spec for dumplings, right? So things that translate over. So I used to do design work. I used to design processes for refining complexes. And so a lot of that process engineering or setting processes up to flow, we use in the kitchen all the time. The scientific method we use when we're coming up with the dyes and the colors and the flavors. So it's all spreadsheets, it's all whiteboards, it's very engineering, right? Even down to one of the ones we engineer is the cup, right? We kind of you make it like a little sauce shot glass for your dumpling, right? We try to bring engineering as much into it as we can. We both have a passion for it to create things and to build things. So that comes up all the time.
Wow.
See, guys, you gotta listen to math and science.
You never know where inspiration's gonna come from, right? You always got to be open, right? So
it sounds like it was like the perfect background to have to jump into this business.
Yeah, for real. So we have only one product that's steam and pan fry. Everything else is bake. People can just bake their dumpling. And then the whole concept was when we were trying to figure out what kind of dumpling we're going to make, we are engineer, but we also a little lazy at the same time. So I think, well, wouldn't it be great if we can just bake our dumpling like we bake pizza? So pretty much we go out, research all the pizza to figure out the temperature, the time, and then we reverse engineer to come out with a dumpling that you can heat up the same way that you can heat up pizza. So people buy a dumpling, they love it. They just need to put it at 375. They can heat it up to like 15 minutes on some of them, 25 minutes on some of them. It's very, very convenient. We're probably the first one or the only one in the market you can actually bake your dumpling.
Wow, that's amazing. That's what my next question was going to be, because I've seen them. I don't know if I've ever really bought them, but I've seen them in the grocery store, like in the frozen section, like where you can buy dumplings. And usually I'm pretty sure you have to pan fry it or steam it or in some way, shape or form. But you have backwards engineered in order to find a way to be able to easily just pop them in the oven and you have dinner. That's amazing.
We wanted to make it foolproof.
Yeah, that's amazing. So tell me about the products. What do you offer?
I want to actually ask them, how did y'all just come up with this idea, or was it something y'all have been planning for years? How did y'all come up with Dumpling Dudez?
Oh, okay. So actually, I like to tell this story just because it was my first time to ever have dumplings. So when we first met, this was back in 2007. We met back then, and I got to meet his friends, and it was the first time I was introduced, and we had a dumpling making party. So everybody brought their own filling. Back then we were using store-bought wrappers. So we would sit around and we would make a bunch of dumplings. We would cook them and eat them at the same time and hang out. And then you took home like a bag full of dumplings, because we would freeze them too at the same time. You take them home and it's like a grab bag full of dumplings you could get to. So I loved it so much. I was like, let's do it with my friends. And so we did it real quick after that. And then it became a family tradition for us to make dumplings with friends and family every year, school buddies, family, I mean, anybody. And so that's kind of how dumplings came about. We really loved the experience. You can talk about the experience.
Yes. So I was very, very in a dark place at the end of my career. I mean, from the outside, I looked like I made it. I'm a director. I can create my own job title, have my own hours, but I was just miserable because I realized the higher you move up, the less freedom you actually have.
Right.
It's very scary. So I was so miserable. I was like, well, I'm not having a very good experience. I want to do something else, and I'm getting older too. I want to do something I'm going to regret myself. So then I started thinking about, okay, life is all about experience. What are the best experience we have in the past, and how do we commercialize it and make it fun for everybody else that struggle and just not having a good time? And then that's when we kind of think about, okay, dumplings, all our best experience are surrounding dumplings, surrounding food. So we just want to recreate the experience and kind of fine tune it to make it enjoyable for everybody else.
Yeah, so our nicknames have always been Mac and Cheese. So it was given to us at one of our gyms we used to work out at. And so we ended up having like mac and cheese competitions, and like we would do food competitions at our house all the time. So food and fellowship has always been very, very big for us. So it was kind of a natural transition to go to there once we figured out the vehicle, dumplings.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how it was born, or how the conception came about.
So you two basically take having food, bring your family and friends together to another level, because it's not just like Thanksgiving dinner or whatever, you know, Christmas dinner, holiday dinner, where one or two people labor to make all of this food and then have everybody come together at the table. But no, you take it to another level. You're like, no, I'm not doing all the work. Everybody get in on this. We're all going to spend time together. We're all going to make our food together, and then we're all going to enjoy it together. And I think that's amazing. I love that concept, because it's more than just being together at the dining table. It's actually being together in the kitchen, being together, you know, cooking together, and then enjoying it together. Like that is another level. I love that. I know with Rain, my daughter, we're always cooking with her, and my brother.
I might see us again when she get here.
Yeah. So I mean, we always cook together. I think it's so valuable even for kids to start learning in the kitchen, being more independent, and it's fun. It's fun. You spend quality time together doing a lot of those things instead of leaving it all on one person, and then you know everybody gets to get the reward of that, but you missed out on that time. So it's like next level spending time together, like you said, food and fellowship. That's what you said, right?
Yeah. So our three hallmarks are community, creativity, and pride. So the community, of course, we love, and not just our community, LGBTQ community, but the community as a whole, human beings, right? We want to bring all walks of life together. So that was really important to us. And then creativity. So we have the dumpling making, the fun flavors, the fun, colorful dough, all that kind of stuff. And then pride in a job well done, pride in your work, pride in your community. So those three things we kind of govern and try to really bring out in people. And we hope to do that. We hope that we're doing that. But that's kind of our motivation really in doing it. Yeah.
So this idea of dumpling making and bringing the community piece of it, I mean, that's another step that you have well above other restaurants and, you know, just food business in general. I mean, y'all are, this idea came from, you said, was it 2007?
Well, that was when we had our first dumpling party together. That was the first time I ever made dumplings. So that kind of carried through all the years, but dumplings actually
last year, right? Maybe 2 years ago.
We started the business in 2019 in April, and we left our jobs earlier that year in 2019, but we had started talking about it probably 2017. The idea in our heads was kind of coming up like, oh, I'm not really being satisfied, or not really satisfied with my job, and I feel like there's more I could do. I'm not reaching as many people as I want to. You know, that fulfillment piece wasn't really there. Even though I loved my work, I love mathematics, I love engineering, I love designing. It just was that personal connection that really just was not there, and was kind of fostered out of all of that. You know, don't do that. You know.
So I guess what I'm saying is, in 2007, the seed was planted. It stayed consistent, right, over the course of the
12 years.
12. Well, 10 years, because y'all had the idea in 2017, right? Stay consistent the entire 10 years, and you're like, what? Let me look at my life. What do I get the most value out of? What do I get the most joy out of? What can we transition out of these miserable jobs that aren't, and maybe they weren't completely miserable, but maybe they were, because I know a lot of people out there are just frankly in jobs that they hate. And what would bring me absolute joy where I
Right.
could do it for a living. So then it's not even
Yeah.
work. Like it's just,
And it just brings me back to the podcast I was listening to with Rob Dial. He was talking about the bamboo tree.
Yeah.
It takes, and this is something that stuck in my head. Like, don't give up. Be consistent. Y'all planted that seed, started kind of thinking of, not even thinking about it, subconsciously, I guess,
Mhm.
about maybe getting here. And it took about 10 years to get there. And so what I'm trying
from
to
seed planted to idea,
Yeah.
and then
Right,
a couple more years from the idea to let's start this business.
So
Yeah.
anybody that's out there that, have this idea,
Well,
just,
explain the bamboo tree,
you might
which
need to-
I didn't know. I had no clue. So, well, this is all information taken from another podcast. So I didn't triple check it. I didn't fact check
Right.
it, but I mean, I could believe it. So Rob Dial, he has the Mindset Mentor podcast, and it's all about mindset. It's him talking and just getting in the right mindset, being successful, personal development, all that good stuff. Well, he talked about the bamboo tree. He said that when you plant a bamboo tree, it actually does not grow for 4 years. You do not see anything come out of the soil for 4 years. But for the 4 years, you have to water it, take care of it, make sure the temperatures are right. You have to nurture this
Right.
plant that you cannot see
Yeah.
for 4 years. And then after the 4 years has gone and you have nurtured this plant, it just shoots. It just takes off out of nowhere. And so what his point was is that sometimes you can't immediately see anything happen.
Right.
But it took 4 years for that bamboo plant to grow its roots. Okay, you can't see these roots, but it's embedding its roots deep,
Yeah.
deep in for 4 years. And then what happens after the 4 years of nurturing, and it takes off. It just flies.
And I
he
feel
said-
like that's what happened with you guys now, because y'all are just taking off from what I see.
Yeah. And so, and he said that you can even, like, when a bamboo tree starts to actually grow, you can sit there and watch it and see it grow just a little bit, because it can grow so quickly. It's just
Yeah.
crazy. So consistency, nurturing those seeds, paying
Right.
attention. I think I'm a big believer in, like, listening to the universe, listening to yourself, listening to those around you that you know, love, and trust, and really internalizing that. Because if we're too closed off, we're not going to see or hear or notice any of that. And
Right.
so that y'all took a huge leap of faith to, first of all, leave jobs
It's
that you
different.
weren't happy
Yeah.
with. Yeah. And come up with this concept that is clearly not the status quo. Your food is different. Your concept is different. Your idea of community and creativity. I mean, everything is different. You've reverse engineered it. You have made a new product.
Yeah.
Because nobody's really baking dumplings. And
Right.
now, but America, we want to be lazy too. We want to be like, I want to stick it in the oven.
Exactly, right? Yeah.
So I'm gonna manifest. I'm gonna manifest some. I think I'm gonna see you guys on TV.
Oh,
really
yeah.
soon
Oh,
with
yeah.
your own show.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe you can have
If that's what you want.
a dumpling contest. So who can make the best dumplings?
I mean, you don't even have to be on TV. They
Right.
can make their own show if they want
Well,
to,
yeah, true,
and be
true.
big on social media and YouTube and Facebook Watch and all that stuff. But
But I can
mean-
wait. I can see a show with them. Like I can literally
love
see
it.
that, and people are so amazed because I don't think I really had dumplings until your birthday this year. Like I don't think I've always seen them, but I just never been that person to be like, let me try this dumpling.
Yeah.
So
And I have probably the biggest reason why I even know what dumplings are, because I get it all the time. So I'm Jamaican. My family, I'm pretty sure they know nothing about dumplings. Even in the Black community, a lot of people
well,
just,
y'all know dumplings, but a whole different type of dumpling.
yes, Jamaican dumplings are completely different. They're literally just like flour, water, maybe some butter and salt in there, and we just roll it up and boil it, and we eat it as like a side of our
It's
dish.
kind of like chicken and dumplings, right?
Yeah,
You make the batter and
chicken
then you cook the
dumplings.
batter in the
It's a
water.
little bit different.
Sort
So-
of, but it's not really like a batter. It's literally like your dough, but just
Okay.
it's not like, it doesn't have any cakiness to it. It's
Right.
literally like your boiled dough. So your dumpling without the meat is
Okay.
our dumpling.
Right.
But just in general, outside of, I think, the Asian culture, a lot of people don't know anything about dumplings. And so, but I was pre-exposed, I guess. I grew up in New York, and my parents did not want me going to the schools in my neighborhood. So they fought to get me into like No Child Left Behind program.
Right.
My best friend and I got into that, and my cousin, because we were all the same age, all in the same grade, and we wound up going to the same middle school together, which was on the other side of town where all the Asian and white people lived. And so I went to school in a very predominantly white and Asian area. And so in middle schools, when I distinctly remember being in class and someone tried to eat some dumplings during class, and we're like, what's that smell? And we're like, so, and then they're like teaching me, my classmates are like teaching me, oh, this is a dumpling, this is a moon cake, which I don't even know if I've really had much of, like, since then, but they're teaching me all these things. So I learned a lot about Asian culture in middle school because of the school I went to. And I learned that, not all Asian people are Chinese. So that was an important lesson for me back then. And so, being in, and that's why we need a more diverse world, right? And we have to be open to learning from each other, because I would have had no clue about dumplings unless it was for that. So anyways, that's my spiel.
And it's so funny because she's Jamaican and I'm, American. So I still get confused with things that she does and say. So crazy.
Yeah. So what was my question to them? Oh, tell us about your products. Okay. Yeah. I know we went on a tangent with Shan, but tell us about your products. So what are the dumplings? What are the products you offer? And what are the services that you offer as part of your business?
Sure. So I think probably start with a little bit of history of how we started the business and what was the first vehicle, right? So our very first thing was actually in-person classes. So before COVID.
So you started with the services. Wow.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. Yeah, because we wanted to entertain people. That's what we really love, to be with people and talking and having a good time, socializing and teaching. I'm a teacher also. So I also tutor as a side hustle to my side hustle. So I've been tutoring for years, math, chemistry, thermodynamics, all that kind of stuff for college stuff. So teaching is in my blood. I've taught piano over the years, things like that. I've had many, many jobs. But for this one, we started teaching classes. We had people come over. We started with 6 people. And then, life kind of throws you curveballs. We actually had 2 classes sign up on the same day, but in our system, it looked like 2 different days. So when people started to email us, we were like, oh no, we've got 15 people coming. We better set up for 15. So we just set up for 15 and we just did it. I mean, it was one of those things. So we started doing classes. It was a 3-hour class. People would come make their own dough. We had stations set up where you could pick your color of additive. Everybody made the dough at the same time, then we let it rest. Then we did the part where you guys have. So that's now the virtual classes. We took out the dough making portion so everybody could have rainbow dough. So then we go into the dough making. We teach people how to cook. We actually have appetizers and dessert for the whole thing too. And then we have a rooftop at our house. So we go up and hang out on the rooftop, fire pit, things like that. So it was a whole social experience. We took boomerangs, we took pictures. All they had to do was bring some beer or bring some wine, show up, eat, have a good time, and then that was it. So that's how we got started.
And then keep in mind that we focus a lot on the experience, right?
Yes.
So all the way from when they sign up, they will give us their favorite song, so we can play their song, mixing with other people's songs throughout the whole class. Mm-hmm. And then we also think, because most people they follow us also have a pretty strong social presence. They have like really good social, like you guys, you have really good social media profile.
Thank you. We're not there yet. But...
Always progress, never perfection.
Yeah, right? That's true, yes.
So like pictures are very important. So we bought some professional lights. So anytime you take pictures in our house, we actually set up the camera light for you. Yeah. So you have professional picture light taken, because lighting is the most important part when you take pictures.
You're Shan. I just want you to know.
Is that it?
Nice.
Yeah.
That's very important. Yeah. So we definitely set the whole up to make sure the experience is very cohesive, very fun, very interactive, and yeah, that's how we got started.
Yeah.
No, that's great. I mean, what you're describing is how
an experience, and that's what people want.
Yeah, but I'm talking about more than that. Like, that's how I imagine my life. Like, I want a house where we can invite our family and friends in, that we can invite our community into and just really enjoy that social experience. Like that, it sounds like a fairy tale to me. Like what
we think that all the time too. I'm like, we wake up some days and I'm like, you realize we make dumplings for a living.
Right. That's so surreal. It's weird. Yeah.
People pick up dumplings every weekend on Saturday. It's crazy. Like every Monday we put out the dumplings. We're like, okay, here it goes. Like, is it gonna go through this week?
Oh my gosh, that's so amazing.
Yeah. So we did that for a while, and then we, in March this year, we kind of like building the business, and we are about to finally go black for the first time for our financial sheet, finally making money for the first time, because we have 7 events lined up in March and April, and then COVID hit. Yeah. So we had to cancel everything, and at the time we didn't really have products out, so we're like, oh wow, like, how are we going to pay for insurance? How are we going to pay all fixed costs at the kitchen?
At the time, we had 2 employees.
How are we going to pay for our employees? And then that was very, very scary moment. And that's when we kind of reach out back to social media and say, if we do some dumpling with our classic flavor, would you guys buy it? So the beginning, we just have our classic flavor, which just
all pan fried, by the way.
All pan fried,
all steamable. So it was very daunting because people were like, I don't know how to cook those, I don't know how to do that, So that was kind of the stepping stone that got us to the.
Yeah. So we did that, and then the people our followers are amazing. They're like, okay, they need help. We're gonna go help them. So they start buying dumplings, sharing with their friends, and that's kind of how we got a kickstart on how we start making frozen dumpling, and then we kind of evolve from there with new flavors, new folding technique, and new baking technique, and trying to elevate it a little bit more.
Yeah. We started out doing maybe 30 or 40 dozen at the beginning, 150 dozen a week. Yeah.
Wow.
Dozen a week.
Wow.
150 dozen a week.
And is your kitchen at your house?
No. So we have a commercial kitchen we work out of. We rent a space that we work out of, and that's where we do all our cooking and our vacuum packing and freezing and all of that. And then we do pop-up pickups around town.
Wow. I'm just taking notes.
Yeah, definitely.
150.
So for someone that's out there, and not necessarily saying they want to start a dumpling company, but how did you know to rent a kitchen out or how to go about that and things like that?
So I do have a little bit of kitchen experience as one of my jobs before I became in construction and home remodeling. I worked in several kitchens, so I knew a little bit about food service industry. My sister also is in culinary arts. She went to school for it as well too, so she has a lot of knowledge there. And then just asking people. I mean, you just got to get out there and ask people questions. That's really it. Unfortunately, the websites are sometimes a little bit hard to navigate, especially governmental websites. It's very hard to ask the right specific question to get there. So you just keep calling and keep asking and keep calling and keep asking until you get the answers that you're going to be the good ones.
Right.
And just linking up with people. There's a really big community of makers, depending on what you're making. And there's a lot of people that want to help out. They want to reach out. We actually had an expo at our gym, and we had our product out, and then there was this lady next to us, and she was like, I want to try your product, and so I was like, yeah, it's good. We liked hers, and we just got to talking, and she's like, do you guys have a kitchen? And we're like, no, we're looking for one. At the time we were still looking for one, and she's like, well, we're out in Cyprus. If you want to come check it out, we'll rent it to you and all this stuff. So we linked up with her, and we asked her, like, thank you so much. This is like 1/3 the cost we were going to have to pay in the city and all this stuff. And, what can we do? Thank you so much. And she's like, just pay it forward. That's really all I want you to do.
Wow.
Help somebody out when they need the help, because that's what this is all about. And we were just 100%. Like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That's exactly what we're looking for. That's the kind of attitude and people we want to work with. And
those are your hallmarks, right? Community.
Yeah, that's it. Exactly.
That's amazing.
And it just reinforced this is what you're supposed to be doing when things like that just out of the universe just pop up and opportunity comes. I mean, that tells you guys are in the right space.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Well, Shen and I were definitely, I think, ignoring last year a lot of the messages that the universe was trying to tell us. The universe was pushing us like, go more towards your community, which is in large the LGBTQ community. And we really didn't make that leap until earlier this year.
Yeah.
We had been, it was just beating against us, like hitting us over the head with the bricks.
It was like
And we were
tapping
like,
us on the shoulder. And
yeah.
we're just like,
we're just like,
Tapping wasn't working.
but I think that that's great. And you know what? Another thing to pull from that experience is and I'm really bad at this. I'm really bad at not feeling like a burden. Like I feel like sometimes if I ask or tell someone a challenge that I'm having, or what I'm looking for, whatever the case may be, that it may be a burden. I love to pour into others, but not necessarily, have others pour into me, or whatever the case may be. And if you did not tell her, hey, we're actually looking for a kitchen space, we'd love to, get something or do something, you would have never gotten that. And you would have never gotten some of the savings that you're having in that relationship. I'm sure is invaluable. So I think that's really important for us to create reciprocal relationships, create relationships where you are adding value to others. I always say, don't even look for anything in return.
Yeah.
Just give value for the sake of giving value. You will attract, whether it be from that person or from your community or from anywhere else, you will attract what you deserve. You will attract the goodness that you're putting out. Yeah. So I love that story, because we have to start asking. We have to start being that community. A community doesn't exist for it to be one-sided. Yeah. A community exists so that we can move through together, as one. So I think I love that story.
So I want to ask now, what does your day-to-day look like when you you want to?
No, go ahead. Things just pop in my head sometimes.
I love it. I know, right? Day to day. So, well, right now, with COVID, it's we go to the kitchen, and I can give you a week by week.
Okay, yeah, that's fine.
Okay, that's fine.
You want to do day to day? That's fine. Go ahead. You got to get an answer.
So I think this is one thing very important when you start a business with your significant other.
That's good.
That number one, you are going to hate each other at one point. I don't care how close you are. You're going to get into argument, especially with COVID. You see each other all the time, all day, every day. So we learned that from the very beginning, that we need to have clear responsibility and roles. Yes. That way we don't kind of cross each other. Everybody still have control over a few things. So that's the first thing we learned. So pretty much I do all the PR, marketing, business development. Mike does all the engineering part, the process, the products, the day-to-day spreadsheet, how to schedule employee payrolls and all that. So pretty much in the kitchen, we in kitchen 2 days or 3 days a week. We pretty much do that together in the kitchen. But otherwise, I work a lot on like how we're going to build a business, who should we team up with, how's the social going to look like, what story are we going to tell, and then what other opportunities do we have out there. And Mike worked a lot on the process, because he used to be a process engineer. How can I build a spreadsheet better? How do I automate this process? And then just review the process, recipes, and plan for production. So that kind of give each of us a little freedom of our own thing while working together, because it is a challenge.
Yeah.
And the challenge is not working on your own area. The challenge is where those areas link up, right? That's the communication piece of it. And so, like you said in the beginning, it was like, we were just on top of each other all the time, trying to like do stuff, because it was so new. I mean, that's not something that you plan for. In all of these business cases that we ran in the very beginning, pandemic was never a variable, right? I mean, that's just something you don't think about. And so there was definitely a long growing period for us. Couple rough bumps, couple stumbles, but in the end, we believed in our product, we believed in each other. So we just kept going, okay, let's just do this. We'll just keep hitting our head until we figure out what the right mode of operation is here.
Persistence.
Yeah. I mean, yes, working with your significant other can come with its challenges. Like Dan knows, like for example, for the podcast, because obviously we have a few different businesses. So for the podcast, she knows she's setup girl. Okay, she's gonna set up the lights, the Zoom call. She's gonna send out the invite for the Zoom call, the survey. She knows that she's setup girl.
Finding people to actually interview. Well, we
Right.
Yeah, she is setup girl. And then I create a lot of the
graphics and
yes, a lot of the graphics, the interview, like our sheets. I get that printed. I reach out to a lot of people. Just
put everything up on the platforms.
Yes, I edit the video, and I don't do much editing. I just add in an intro, an ad, and an outro. I get it up on.
We're learning.
So we have definitely tried to put clear lines of who does what, so that we can avoid the friction. So, because there will be friction.
Definitely.
So I completely see that. That's great. But I'm really glad that you're here now. So I wanted to go back to COVID. So do you think you would be where you are right now if COVID didn't happen?
We talk about that often.
I think it will be different.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think right now we actually more product driven than more experience driven at the same time. Even though our product is also experience, right? From the baking, the colors and everything. But I think we will probably be doing a lot more classes if COVID hadn't happened. We're in a lot more corporate events. Which is a space we really do enjoy too. That's why we start doing virtual team building, virtual classes, kind of to get back to that area, because that's kind of how we got started. The one thing that we do think it's helped us a lot is with COVID, with our selling product, it kind of expanded our customer base a bit. Because the type of customer they buy frozen dumplings is a little bit different. The type of customer that will actually take the cooking classes. So that kind of helps us out to know that we do have a different business model. We can survive on it at least, and then to cover our baseline. So that part is very, very helpful that we actually do build our support during COVID.
Right. No, that's amazing. Now, my next question is. It sounds like the experiences are more enjoyable, but I'd love to know, is it more profitable for you as well? Or is being on the product side more profitable for you and your business?
So definitely services are definitely more profitable when you can apply a service, because you're giving something intangible. You're creating an experiential space that people can come in and just relax. And so you basically are the driver of the experience. And so people will pay more for that than versus picking up a product and taking the product home and doing it all themselves, right?
And
so
even with factoring in your time, right? It's still
correct.
It's still more. Okay, that's great. Okay.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I mean, you guys have made dumplings now, so you know the labor of love it can be.
Yes,
right?
Definitely.
So, coming up with products and doing that and having overhead is expensive and employees, but the margins are smaller, but we still get a lot of enjoyment out of both. But the classes really, I mean, at the end of the night, we're just like, that was so much fun, and great to meet all those people. And
go ahead. On the product side, the margin is pretty slim, and then our dumplings a little bit on the higher end side as far as pricing goes already. But people didn't realize that our dumpling probably takes 3 or 4 times the time to make than a standard dumpling maker. All the way from the fresh ingredient, we actually make our own dough. We actually make the juice that's fresh that go into our dough, recipe developments, and then put everything together. It's very, very time consuming, but I think our customers do appreciate that it takes longer to make, because you can kind of taste it at the end of the day.
Yeah. Right. No, I wouldn't even care. Like,
that was so good.
They're so good. So tell me, do y'all know who your customer is? Like, is your customer pretty much majority not Asian?
That's a really good question. And so I think in the beginning it was like that. And then now we're starting to see a little bit more influx of some Asian folks. Like we actually have a really fun follower. Her mother tastes all of our flavors, and she is real ready to give us criticisms and let us know when they taste good and when they taste bad and things like that. And she even does like iteration. She's like, well, this generation of it was better than this generation, and stuff like that. So it's we just love our followers so much.
Yeah.
So much.
Yeah, that's amazing.
So yeah, if you look at social, with our followers about 65% female and then 35% male. And I'm assuming there's a big chunk of LGBT communities in there as well. So however you break it down, age between 25 to 45 in most cases, I believe.
All the younger lazy people. Okay.
I'm very diverse. I think the best part is like very, very diverse.
Yeah.
People like come, and then you definitely see. We didn't see a lot of Asian people at first because they were a little question about why we have weird flavor like chocolate cheesecake and cheesesteak and
chorizo mac and cheese.
And but after they try it, they start to come a lot more often, or they'll tell their friends. And it's interesting because you will see non-Asian people buy the traditional flavor, but the Asian people, because they probably already had the traditional flavors, they buy all the fusion flavor.
Yeah. I love that.
Like her favorite is chocolate cheesecake, right? This is the Asian mom. I was like, wow, what? Chocolate cheesecake? Yeah, so they like all the fusion flavor because it's unique and you cannot get it anywhere.
Yeah, they can make the regular ones.
Yeah.
They can make that all day. So
y'all are on some type. I don't think y'all understand. Once y'all get the right connect,
and I want to ask, what's in the future for you two? Because I'm already thinking of your future. I'm like, oh my god, they're gonna be at all these corporate events, because I didn't realize that corporate events was even in your repertoire. I didn't know that was even I didn't even think of that, but that makes sense. It's all about experiences. So what's in the future? What would you say are something you're really hopeful about, or some things that you really think are going to help your business grow, or you want to do eventually? What does that look like?
So one of the things we try to do, because we follow this model, which you can talk a little bit about it too, but it's this this agility and being able to pivot and all that stuff, which I think kind of lends itself to why we've been able to move so quickly to kind of set up for COVID and things like that. But we try to think about the future, but we still stay open to just climate and what can change in your world. But if we're looking in an ideal world, we'd love to build our own space so that we can teach classes again. Hopefully COVID will not let up, but we'll be in a position where we can all gather again. So we want to build something like that. We've been working on pairings. You can talk a little about some of our pairings that are coming up.
Right. So I think it'll come back down to experience. How do we expand the experience, right? So a couple of things. One will be, we do a little bit of pairing now because we do love beer, wine. So we do some kind of dumpling and beer pairing, dumpling and wine pairing, maybe dumpling and cocktail pairing. It's experience. People can go through the class and learn about the wine, the dumpling. So that's something that we actively doing. We just did one with Senanos that worked very well. And also to expand our virtual experience nationwide, we can figure out shipping, that we can kind of teach people how to make dumpling. And then I think we're going to keep the product side for now, just to kind of come up with new flavor, because that's very, very fun for us to come up with new flavors, and then just figure out new way to have new experience for people, so people can make dumpling. And I think not just that making dumpling for themselves, but with us, but making dumpling for their family, so then their family can make dumpling for their other family. Because the whole idea was people can kind of share the experience and make it become a phenomenon that enjoy and having a good time. The other thing I want to talk about is when we first started, it's when there's always like, how you always have Pride Month in June, and then you see company will turn their logo rainbow. My old company and my old company has never ever done that. And then I will reach out to them to say, are you going to do something for Pride Month? You always like nothing. So one of the things we talk about is when we create our company, one of the goals to be give back. Give back whenever we can, give back even when we're small. You gotta start small and start giving back. There's nothing too small. So we will definitely continue giving back to the community. This year, we give back to a couple organizations, which is, they did a very, very good job. One is called Red M. It's an organization I involved back then when I was working at corporate. They fight against human trafficking. So they will take the girl, they got human trafficking and try to give her a new life, and then kind of rebuild their life together. The other thing we do is since it's COVID, they cancel all the Pride event this year. So we want to do something to kind of still generate money and to give out. So we come out with the Rainbow Dumpling Pack. We rarely do the whole Rainbow Dumpling Pack. So we do the Rainbow Dumpling Pack, and then half of our net proceeds will go to Outreach United, which then support the LGBT homeless youth, LGBT elderly. So we raise quite a bit of money for that too. And then also let people aware that they still need money during COVID, and then help out wherever you can. So definitely giving back to the community, and then to kind of bring awareness. Using our brand power is very, very important to us as well.
And working with other groups that do the same thing, like St. Arnold's, they just came out with the Black is Beautiful beer, which was raising money, and they gave it back to their community there in Third Ward. And, they working with them, their pairing, that was one of the beers they had in our pairing. So we were able to help them do that as well too, kind of link our groups together and give back doubly as well.
So is that the brewery company that you guys, I see you post sometime?
Yeah. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. So we do. So St. Arnold's is the one we do the virtual pairings with. You get a flight of dumplings and you get a flight of beers, and you pick them up on that day. And then we do Instagram Live. So we did that twice now. We met with a Houston Cider Company as well. We did a dumpling with them. They're an LGBT company as well. They're in the Heights, really great cider. But we did a dumpling with them, an apple pie dumpling with their cider. So we've worked with them. We've done pickups at Walking Stick Brewery as well. So we really like working with the brewery guys. They're a lot of fun.
Yeah, the most laid back people you ever meet.
Yeah, and as soon as we get the go ahead for some more tastings, there's a couple of the breweries that want to work with us as well too.
This show is supported by the Empower Team, your queer real estate professionals. Based in the Houston, Texas area, we can help you buy, sell, lease, or invest in Houston real estate. If you're not in the Houston area but want to start or add affordable rental properties to your portfolio, we'd love to help. And if you're looking for homes in your own area, we can still help you find an LGBTQ plus friendly real estate agent, a service we provide for free. Please reach out to us at homes@empowerteamtx.com. That's HOMES@empowerteamtx.com.
That's amazing. I love how you're expanding your reach, partnering with companies. You both can, there's just enough for everyone. And there's so many opportunities to partner, especially in businesses that are, a lot of them are kind of suffering during COVID. I know that a lot of good I can see has come out of COVID, but there is a subset of people and businesses that really have had a really, really hard time. And it really does take a community, takes a village for us to rally together to support those so that they can survive. So when we get on the other side of this, they're okay. They're still here. So you can kind of make up for that lost time. So
when you have a cause like that, you're helping not just one, it seems like you're helping a lot of companies with your platform. And that's really, really where I think, the paying it forward comes and be a good thing. So
yeah,
definitely. Yeah.
No.
And you said that one organization was called Red M?
Red M.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's amazing. So we're going to transition. You're obviously out in your business. And I would assume you're out in your personal life. Like y'all have been together for a while, but maybe not. Tell us, Shan, what do you want to ask them?
Well, you already asked if they're out in their business. Obviously, they're out in their business. I guess, when did you come out? Let's start there, maybe.
Sure. So my story, unfortunately, is not a real happy story in the beginning, but it has a happy ending. So we'll start with that.
But it helps somebody,
Right, exactly. Yeah. So I was 16 years old, and my folks found out. I actually didn't really know that I was gay. I just knew that I liked guys, and it was never really a thing, right? I mean, I grew up in a very we love everybody household. It doesn't matter who you are. We love and respect everybody until it was kind of in their backyard kind of thing, you know? And that was really unfortunate. So I grew up not knowing, and then my parents decided to tell my whole family, so I never really got to come out to my family. The other part of it is they definitely put me into some kind of therapy at one point where it was a conversion style. I did not go for very long, and I kind of refused to do that because I didn't think there was anything wrong with me, and and I just wasn't a fit for me. So I ended up leaving home for a number of reasons when I was about 17, almost 18 years old, right after I graduated high school. No, actually in my senior year too. Anyway, I lived with my boyfriend at the time, and many years went through that. I didn't pick very good boyfriends in the beginning. I actually kind of got into an abusive relationship at one point. So that's actually why I moved back from California to Texas. I was escaping, and I came with my family. At one point in my life, it got really dark, and I did get arrested at one point, so my story it's kind of all over the place, but I would say in my life, that pivotal moment there, I was able to meet some really amazing people. And so unfortunately, it was a dark time, but there was always a light at the end of that tunnel, and I really hold on to that in my life. At that time, I learned how to choose my true family, the friends and family that would be my support group. I met one of my best friends, met Chi a couple of years later. Was really in a space to be more of a productive person and be a happy person in my life. And so definitely stepping stones and some struggles. But, I came to my parents and I said, if you want me to be a part of your life, you have to be a part of my life. And my life involves this. And, if you want to be on board with it, then let's do it. But if not, I've kind of come to a place where, hey, I'm kind of okay with that, and so there was definitely this jumping off point for us. And now it's a lot better. I mean, they're still very, very conservative, closed-minded about a lot of things, like my mom has never said, congratulations on getting married and, things like that. And so that's always a little disconcerting, but, I do have allies in my family. My father's mother, her brother was gay, lived with his partner in Miami for 45 years. I never got to meet him, unfortunately, but she was always like, Mike, just be a man in your life, whatever you do. That's really the most important thing, is just be true to who you are. And she's Catholic, and she's like, I'm Catholic, that's me. That does not work for everybody, but that's just me. You just be you and be happy. And that's what life is really about. And so I did have allies in my family as well, too.
Yeah.
I have brothers and sisters, very, very supportive. But we all went through that. When a family goes through turmoil, everybody's affected.
Yeah.
And it did affect everybody. There's definitely a long period of reconstruction for all of us.
So I want to go back to how did your parents find out?
That's a sordid story. But I guess it was when I was kissing my boyfriend. That was one of the things, and it was just I didn't really think anything of it, and yeah, it kind of came out that way.
Yeah.
And what about you, Chi?
First of all, I want to say this is the most Mike ever shared publicly about his coming out story.
Wow.
It's hard to get him to share on social because you know how we share a lot of very true moments of our life, and then this is the most he shared. It's very, very brave.
I used to stand up and give speeches about this too, though. I used to talk about my story a lot. There were a couple of years when I was going through, therapy to kind of get through a lot of what had happened in my early teens and early 20s. I told my story so many times, so that he's like, write your story. And I'm like, I don't want to tell it again, but it's important to keep telling our stories. It really, really is.
So how important do you think, someone that's out there that's struggling to, basically have that courage to either just be who they are, how you came back to your parents and say, look, this is me, this is how much courage did it take, and what advice would you give someone that's struggling with that right now?
In the beginning, like I said, I left home and for a while I found kind of the wrong crowd. You got to find people that are going to support you. And once you have that, and you can find some people out there, because there are people out there that want to support people and want to be part of a community and really help people. It was not as hard. I mean, once I had that support group, I knew I could fall back on, because I knew I didn't really have a lot of support in the other direction. And so for me, it was like, hey, look, we're family. Are we going to do this or not? You know? And so if we're not, fine. I've got a support group that's behind me. If we are, great, that support group is still coming with me. So, you know, it was like they were still there through it no matter what. So I knew that I had a place to go to if it didn't work out, you know. And so finding that was very, very important for us.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, Chi, give it to us.
Go ahead. Okay. So this is an interesting question because people always ask, like, how do you come out and how do you come out? And then my answer is always that you don't just come out one time. You don't just like make an announcement and people's like, everybody knows you're gay. I feel like in my life, I had to come out over and over and over and over again. And each time is different. Each time is very hard. And then when I came out to my family, it's actually pretty easy. It's over Skype. I think my mom moved back to Taiwan already. I told her about it, but she's very liberal. She definitely believes in women's rights. She didn't even take my dad's last name because she didn't understand that why the woman need to take a man's last name. So she's very, very supportive. My family is, in general, I think most of them are very supportive. So I never really had any issue like coming out and not comfortable with being who I am. I definitely had a lot of self-doubt myself to say, what happened if my family disown me? What happened if they don't love me? But that kind of hindered me from coming out to them until I was a bit older. I think 21, 22 when I first coming out to them. Maybe even later.
No, we were together.
Oh, 26.
Keep going.
Yeah. Anyway,
31.
The moment I do want to share with you guys is I had to come out from work. I think coming out from work in oil and gas industry is a lot harder than coming out to your families and friends. The number one reason is different companies have different rules. My company, very fortunately, actually have the discrimination clause. You're not supposed to discriminate against LGBT, gay, transsexuals, and all that. So that's covered in the business. But in Texas at the time, it's only till this year, you can still be fired for being gay. So I had a conversation with HR. I said, I want to take Mike to the Christmas party. Will I get fired for it? If I get fired, will I get protection? The HR pretty much tell me that companies shouldn't be able to fire you because the company has its own clause. But in Texas, they can do whatever they want. So there's a chance if they do want to fire me, there's no law, no local law to back me up. But I went ahead and did it anyway. I took Mike to the Christmas. Not really the issue for my immediate work family because I feel like I've been company for so long. People know who I am. So 2 years before I decided to quit my job, in 3 years, I want to do an experiment. I want to see if I came out on LinkedIn, what kind of response would I get? Okay, so I write a post, talk about I'm gay, this is who I am, I came out, and all that stuff. So it's very, very interesting because it has 50,000 views.
Oh, wow.
On LinkedIn. And about 3,000 people from my own company saw that post. So like everybody know after that. So the interesting part is my immediate work family are all being very supportive. They're like, okay, thank you for being so brave, telling us who you are, we'll support you regardless. But I do also get a lot of negative message from my second connection or people I don't know as well. Comments including that, how dare you to do this on LinkedIn? This is not professional. Some people says that you don't believe in the oil and gas industry. Some people say, go back to your country. I'm an American citizen. And some people say, you don't belong in Texas. You should get out. You guys should get out of here. So a lot of negative message when I came out on LinkedIn. And then I didn't tell anybody till probably this today, right now, or maybe I think I made a post about it not very long ago. I couldn't tell anybody because I'm afraid I'm gonna piss people off. Some of the people that make those comments are very, very high influencer in the oil and gas industry in different companies. So I keep it quiet for years, didn't mention anything. But the good thing is most of the people are very, very supportive. I think the story is that you can be working in a real conservative company and environment, and sometimes you're going to feel like nobody support you. There are going to be people that will support you. And I always tell people that even if you had to work for some company, they are going to be people that's like the light in your life, in the darkness. And then what you have to do is you have to follow the lights. Follow those lights, listen to those people. They're the one that are going to get you through the days. And then very, very lucky I had those people in my life to get me through the day, even if I work in a very conservative company.
Yeah. And I just say this, a lot of people that I feel like they have to, make those negative comments, a lot of time they're struggling with their own sexuality.
Right.
So,
sometimes it's even just sometimes it's I think a pattern of dysfunction. I mean, if you were raised in that type of environment, a lot of the times that's the type of environment that they were exposed to themselves. And so now they're trying to dictate what's right or wrong for someone, even though it has no effect on them. It has no effect on their life. It has no effect on them. Maybe their family were uncomfortable with something like that. And now they want to say what's right or what's wrong.
It's kind of like racism.
It's a lot of different relatable things because they are just repeating the dysfunction. So,
Come back to your lamb story.
Oh yeah, definitely. Why you do things. I mean, it's a lifelong journey for, I think, any of us to break out of some of those habits, ways of thinking. Not saying we're as severe as, hey, we're going to go and tell somebody how they should live their life and be negative about it or whatever the case may be. But, we all have things, and sometimes it's a lifelong journey to get out of those things. Sometimes it never happens, but for a lot of people it does. So I think that it was really, really brave of you to probably, because a lot of the times what we hear is the negativity, right? It's really easy to hear all the negativity, even if it is truly overwhelming. It's like you said, there are going to be people there that support you and that probably feel exactly the same as you. Even if you think it's a very small percent, most people don't think they exist, but there should be someone or some people that are there. They just kind of keep quiet because of the same thing, right? All of the overwhelming negativity. And then they don't feel like they will have a voice. Everybody's all feeling the same, like there's nobody else. But I think that you probably opened a huge door, broke it open to, number one, expose people for what they are, because sometimes, I mean, people will show you their true colors, right?
And from behind the keyboard. We get those all the time. Being a gay-owned business.
And we dealt with that at a brokerage we were at, and we were just like, we just don't want to be part of, or a majority of the agents are, thinking we should burn in hell. And
it doesn't have to be a majority, but it can feel like that when we're in the moment. And you're hearing the negativity, you're seeing the chiming in, you're seeing a lot of the same things, because it may not be a majority. And it may just be a very small percentage that's protruding all of that negativity.
Loud. Yes, exactly.
And Shenice and I had been dealing with rejection because we got rejected from our church. And so then we got hit with that with our brokerage, and we're just like, okay, no.
That's what I was telling you, we were getting hit over the head with bricks at this point earlier this year to say, like, it's time to make a shift. It's time to make a shift. Find your true community. And this is a part of that, similar to you. This podcast was an idea, 2.5 years ago? And we did not make it happen and start it until this year.
Primarily because of me. I'm still trying to get used to being on camera and talking.
It's hard.
Dialogue going. So yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, it takes time, but I really love the fact that you're so open and you're so honest, because it's just like we were saying, I think sometimes it feels like it's overwhelming and like everybody's negative, but it's more than likely, it's actually just a percentage, just a portion. It's just easy to see all the negative and not the positive, or a lot of the people who want to be positive for you and share and support, they're on the quieter side, or they'll reach out to you directly, or something of that sort. Is that what you experienced?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
That's amazing. I love that. And it goes back to find your community, like create your circle, choose your family. Like you can have your blood family, and then you can have your chosen family. Like how amazing is that?
Exactly.
Yeah, definitely. Alrighty, so now to the juice.
Wait.
Oh.
Okay, go ahead. Yeah. What's the juicy part? Go ahead. Let me hear what you got to say.
Ask how they. met.
Okay, that's what I was gonna ask. We're on the same place. Okay.
So how did you guys meet? And then just go through your history and your
Sure.
marriage and all of that. Kids, if you plan on having kids one day, all of the good
Don't
stuff.
be trying to get in all their business.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
Stop with some tea. So we met when we were 26. We met online. We did not live in the same city. So I lived in Austin and he lived in College Station. And actually his friend was kind of a virtual wingman. He saw my profile and he's like, gee, you gotta message this guy. So we talked online for about 3 or 4 months. And then in January of 07, he was moving back to Austin and he was going to go look for an apartment. So are you guys familiar with Austin at all?
Yes.
Have you been to Mozart's Coffee?
No.
Okay.
By the lake.
So it's a really pretty place off infield by the lake. It's a really nice coffee shop. Check it out. But anyway, we were there. We met there for our first meet. And really, it wasn't very romantic. It was more like, okay, he's the person I've been talking to online for the past 4 months. Like he is who he says he is, right? And so it was more like a verification.
And that's so funny because you did not call it a date. You called it a meet.
It was a meet, yes. We met up to verify.
Make sure we didn't get catfished.
Exactly, right?
Yeah.
I mean, and what's so funny, it was on gay.com, right? The Tinder of our time, right? So this was way back before apps. And
Never even heard of that.
I know, nobody,
Gay.com.
exactly, yeah, gay.com. It was, like I
The
said,
first dating website.
first kind of like dating
for gay-
website
for
for
the
gay guys.
bar community,
Yeah, for our community. And so, yeah, I mean, didn't even have a smartphone at the time. I mean, you know, so we did that, and then we had coffee that day. Actually, I think we just met. We didn't even really have a cup of coffee, but
No,
he was
we had
moving.
coffee,
He
yeah.
was moving back that week, and so we ended up having our second date. We watched a movie at his place. I brought over this movie. I thought it was gonna be so cool. It was the worst movie in the world. I left thinking, oh my God, this dude, he's like he's never gonna call me back. That was an awful movie I've ever seen. You know, so that happened, and then we just continually dated for a while. There was a point that came. I was living in a house with some friends, and it came up that one of the guys fell in love with me, and he wanted to date me, and I was like, well, I kind of am in love with this guy over here, you know. So he kicked me out of the house. I was in finals in school, and he was like, well, as soon as your finals done, you got to leave the next day. And this is like 2 weeks. So at the time, she was like, move in with me. And I'm like, nope, done that before. We've only been dating for like 4 or 5 months. I'm not going down that road again. You know, I have been there, done that. And so I was like, I've got a project in Houston. I'm going to go help my grandmother remodel her condo and all that. So he actually came to Houston to meet me, and we drove back and forth again. So we kind of did a little bit of a long distance again. Got to know each other. He got to know my family, my grandmother. I got to know his family. And then at the end of the summer, we bit the bullet, and he was like, just move in with me. And I was like, all right, let's try it. We'll try it for a little bit, right? So we ended up trying it for a little while. And I mean, of course, now it's been almost 14 years, 15 years. So it's worked out pretty good. But I was in Austin Community College working on getting my engineering degree, and I wanted to go to UT. He was part of UT. I wanted to be part of UT. And then he ended up getting a job in Houston. And so that's how we got to Houston 2 years later. So we did another long distance thing again. He moved to Houston in the winter. I came after my school was done. But we actually almost broke up over that. Like we almost separated because I wanted to go to UT. I was like on this track, you know, for several years. And so I visited University of Houston and saw their chemical engineering program was pretty good, and conceded. I never thought I would live in Houston again. I mean, I you know, my family's been here since 1908, whatever. They've lived in the Heights. And I was just like, I'm not going to live there. It's just too big for me. It's just too much. And Austin was so green and lush at the time, you know, so it was very, very attractive. But anyway, so we did that for a minute, and then at that point, I knew if I'm going to follow him to a different city, we're married. We couldn't get married at the time, of course, but you know, at that point, I was just like, well, this is it. We're going to do this. So it was great. We lived in a tiny, tiny little apartment in the Heights for about 6 months until he found the right house to move into.
The one that you currently.
Yeah, the one that you guys currently picked up dumplings at. So I'll stop there and you can take it from there.
Yes. So I proposed 3 years ago, right?
Mm-hmm. In
I'm very bad
18.
with
In
dates.
18.
I always get in trouble.
Yes.
I proposed 3 years ago, so we were in Austin, and then our friends were there, and I want to propose at the first place that we met at Mozart again. So like trying to get into Mozart, like hinting our friend, like this is a proposal, you gotta help me out. And he's like, no, I don't feel like coffee.
I'm like, we can get coffee anywhere.
We don't have to go there. It's probably a lot of people. So like trying to get like his best friend.
Ruining your plans.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. So we went to the coffee house, and then I took him to by the water downstairs, and then he's standing there looking at the water. And get on my one knee, and when he turned around, I have to ring, and then I propose. Of course, I think it's a big surprise for him.
I was shocked. I was very shocked.
Wow. So did y'all talk about marriage at all? Did y'all decide who was going to propose, or did y'all kind of know who would, or what are the background? Because everybody feels differently, right?
Right.
About that, and you know, in so many different relationships. So how did y'all come up with that?
You know, we talked about marriage quite a bit, and I always said, I was like, look, I'm married. I moved here for you. You know, that's marriage for me at this point. You know, and you know, before I met Chih, I was kind of I was in a life of bachelor. I didn't really want to be in a relationship. I kind of had some really bad ones, you know, earlier on, and so I wasn't really looking for a relationship, which I think is the perfect time to have one. But you know, it just kind of popped up. Yeah, we talked about marriage and definitely getting married, but it just took so long for it to happen, for it to, you know, get passed and all that. So when it finally happened, I think we were like 8 or 9 years already together. So at that point we were common law and, you know, all that stuff. But we had talked about it, and in the end, we actually did it for the business. Right? You know,
in a way, yeah.
In a way, I mean, we really wanted to get married, always really did. But you know, the way we had the wedding and the timing and all that, it just kind of fit with our transition in life. You know, they say never move or quit a job or get married in the same year, but we kind of did all of those at the same time.
Wow.
Yeah.
So we got married a year after we proposed, on the same date. We didn't even realize it's the same date. Until we get married, it's like, oh my God, this is the same date. When you saw the Facebook memory.
Thank you, Facebook.
From last year.
Wow.
But because we had to save money to start our business, so we decided to have a small wedding. Mm-hmm. It's only 11 people, including Mike and I. So it's only 9 people there. All our best friends, we rent a lake house together. Everybody chip in, rent the lake house. And not only that, everybody chip in and bring their own dish, 1 or 2 dish, and cake and all that. So we have a real small wedding, so we can have the money that we need. We use the wedding money to kind of start a Dumpling Dudez. Mm-hmm. So, and then I know Mike sacrificed a lot for that.
I'm a big wedding person. I love weddings, man.
Big weddings. So it definitely meant a lot to me. I'm hoping one day we'll be able to throw a party again in the future.
Oh yeah. I mean, y'all are going to be like blowing up, and then y'all are going to have the wedding renewal of vows.
Exactly.
Die for, I'm sure.
Exactly.
That's amazing. I mean, and that makes a lot of sense, because I mean, y'all love to share experiences and your time with others. So I can see a nice big celebration in the future. But y'all put something important first, because you realize, you know, a lot of this is for financial and time and emotional freedom, right? Yeah. So in order to have that, you know, I'm sure spending that money on a wedding would not have given you that, but spending that money on a well thought out, greatly crafted, just completely enjoyable business, that is what will get you to that time, financial, and emotional freedom that you've been looking for. That wasn't there in oil and gas, right?
Yeah. So when is your wedding anniversary?
January 5th.
Oh, it's coming up.
Mm-hmm. 2 years.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
He's like, oh my God, that's so cute. I love it.
Our first date was January 29th.
Wow.
And so then he proposed to me on January 5th, and then we got married on January 5th the next year.
Wow. So you mean your first meet? You need to go back in time and figure out when your first actual date was. But
January 29th.
Oh, that wasn't the meet?
Yeah, that was the meet.
That was the date we don't know. Yeah, the date we don't know.
January 29th.
Oh, okay.
I know the date.
Okay.
I'm very bad with age.
Yeah.
Okay, so thank you for all that wonderful information. I think, I mean, just getting to know y'all is so enjoyable, and because
Thanks, guys.
all the warmness, all the warmth,
And
and
I'm over here biting my tongue because I always tell all our guests this, but I just feel the great energy, man. Like, and
yeah,
I just,
Thank you.
feel the success that's coming in. We're just gonna, keep pushing that positive vibe your way. So
yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. So we're gonna move on to our wrap-up question.
Okay.
You want to take the first one?
yeah. Alrighty.
Just like lightning round, we gotta like answer real quick, or is that?
Yeah,
okay?
yeah. 10 seconds. I'm kidding.
No. Alrighty. First question. What would you say is your best money habit?
Him.
He is the money habit. That's
Listening to him. That's my best money habit.
I think it's research. I definitely research a lot. I like follow different entrepreneur, different kind of news, different kind of financial planner to kind of know what's available and what can we take advantage of.
Okay. Where do you find your motivation?
So I'm a big fan of meditation and just mindfulness. So peaceful mindfulness. I practice a lot of that. Working out and doing yoga and things like that tend to inspire me to be better and just ideas come to you when you're. One of the things I've always found in life, and I'm a musician as well too. So when I write music, or if I'm working on a piece, let's say a classical piece, if I'm working on it and I can't get something to come together, I'll go listen to a different style of music, like heavy metal or something completely different, and I'll come back and I'll be inspired by something else. So I've let that creative part of my mind rest so it can come back to life, right? So working out kind of does that for me. Yoga does that for me. Meditation does that for me.
Story.
Yeah.
Other people's story.
Yeah.
And a lot of that is coming through YouTube, coming through podcasts, and it's always inspire you on how people can tell their whole life story in 20 minutes, 30 minutes, and it's so powerful.
Yeah. No, 100%.
Yeah, I like that answer.
I love both of them. And Mike, on your point, so I don't feel like I'm more of the creative type. Although that Shan might disagree a little bit, I don't know, but I don't feel like I'm very creative. And Mike, you seem like the creative type, and and Chih, you seem like the more analytical, detail-oriented person. Is that wrong?
It's the opposite.
It's the opposite.
No? Oh my gosh!
So we're both Geminis, okay? So we both kind of have a little bit of both of that, really.
Okay.
I grew up as a musician. I was going to be on Broadway, and I was going to do all that. I'm a vocalist. I play all kinds of instruments, piano, write music. But when I left home, I kind of left that life behind and went more into into construction remodeling, which again is another creative. But I love mathematics. I love computer coding. I love science, all that stuff. And they're very, very linked. That analytical and music, because music is really just layering patterns on top of each other, right? And so it's very, very similar.
Yeah.
There's a lot of that there. And I know Chih definitely started out very, very analytical in his career, and he became more creative. So we kind of went like this in our lives.
Yeah.
So we really appreciate both of the aspects of each other's lives.
I can see why he probably went from that, because you ended your career with marketing, correct?
Right.
Exactly.
That's
Yeah.
true. Yeah. Okay. So you started more on the creative side and then layered in more analytical, Mike, and then Chih, you started on the analytical side and then layered in. Oh, that's awesome.
Like 15 years ago, it would have been the exact opposite.
Right.
Yeah.
That just goes to show growth, change, just continuously developing and just growing. I love that.
Alrighty, next question. What advice would you give to someone in the LGBTQ plus community that would like to advance in their career or level up in their business?
That's you.
Oh, okay. I would say be yourself, of course, and then there's no day is like today. I waited till I become a director of the company before I came out. So I feel like I am high up, I'm protected, they couldn't do anything. But in reality, I think that's my own self-doubt. I think if you want to come out and be yourself, you should be able to do that anytime in your career. And because you're going to be so much happier. I feel like I'm a much better employee. I'm a lot more creative when people know who I am. So that's definitely one thing very important. Be yourself and don't be afraid of being yourself. If the company does accept you for who you are, then maybe that's not the right company for you. Don't be miserable just to be fit in into somebody else's culture. There is a difference between fitting in and feeling belong.
Mhm.
Don't work somewhere just to fit in. Work somewhere you feel you belong.
Right.
So that's my number one advice for the LGBT communities out there.
Yeah, and I think really there's so many resources now out there to help LGBT community with business and stuff. At least finding communities to work with. There's a lot of people that are ready to reach out or ready to accept somebody else reaching out for help. And so I think the first step is to like you said, be true to you. If you're an entrepreneur, be true to your product. Really, take time to think about why you have a product in the market. Why is it important to you? What is the value it gives to other people? What's the value it gives to you? And then how do you give back to the people who have helped you get there? Giving back is such a huge thing. I mean, it doesn't only just benefit the people who are around you, it benefits the people you work with and yourself too. There's a peace of mind, you are out there helping people, and then there's people behind you that have helped you get to where you are,
Yeah.
As an entrepreneur, I liken it to like traveling the wilderness. You look forward as an entrepreneur and all you can see is the woods. But as you take small steps and you meet people along the way, you turn around and you realize you've built a village and a sidewalk and everything behind you. And now there's this huge creation. Yeah. So take it one step at a time, take it one day at a time. The power of now is huge. Do something today because that's going to compound next week. It's going to compound in the future. Right. So, finding people that are going to help you do that in your community is definitely key.
Definitely.
I love those answers. Thank you.
Now, do you all have a favorite book or podcast or source that you get information or, something outside of, everything else you have going on in life?
So my favorite podcast is How We Build This.
Yeah.
Ooh, Iris, I love it.
I love it. It's so good. So good. There's a lot of great stories. And I do get inspiration from that as well, too. There's a lot of really good stories out there. When we were first starting this, and for myself, I was really unsure of how this was going to look and of course we both were, but she was like, you got to listen to this podcast. Every time we drove to Austin to see friends and family, we would listen to the podcast on the way there, on the way back. And it really just gets you thinking that all of these entrepreneurs had no idea what they were doing in the beginning, right? They all asked the questions. They all were unhappy in a position where they were and took a step out of that to say, look, this is uncomfortable here, but I can go over here and be a little bit more uncomfortable and build my own thing, And so, I think that's super important, and that's my favorite.
Yeah, I think the story there is that really make me love those podcasts, and the one that you guys created too, is that it's really about the story of people being successful. Mm-hmm. If you think about it, it's all about how people overcome their struggle and become successful. It's all about the struggle, right? So I think that a lot of people just look at the fancy outfit that people put on. Oh, this company make this much money. This company is successful. They're doing so well, but nobody knows what's behind the success. They might be tears, they might be sweats, they might be almost bankrupt. Mm-hmm. And then I think it's good to remind everybody that whenever you struggle, that's actually building your strengths. Like I would say, for my whole life, I don't think I don't get to who I am today because of the success, because of the education that I have, but it's because of the struggle I had to overcome. Whenever I had to overcome the struggle, it made me stronger. And I also want to say that as a minority and as gay as well, you are going to have and also gender too, it's a big issue. You're going to have a lot more struggle than everybody else. But instead of letting it getting you down, like I didn't let it get me down, that people could discriminate me, I used my struggle as a power to make me work even harder, even stronger to overcome my struggle. So use it as a gift that you are who you are for a reason. People could discriminate for who you are, but use that struggle to fuel you, to give you that extra fuel that nobody else can get, and then make you become the person you want to become.
Yeah. definitely. We learned a formula recently, which I'm not remembering. It's dissatisfaction times your vision equals something else.
Yeah.
But anyways, the whole point was what we discussed last week was if you're multiplying, if you're good with math, right? Because that's the first question was, are we good with math? And we both love math. So we're like, yes, give me the formula, you know?
Right, yeah.
And it was saying dissatisfaction times vision. So in order for it to equal something significant, you have to have both, right? So if there's no dissatisfaction and only vision, that might not lead to much.
Yeah.
You know, there isn't any fuel there to get you where you need to be.
Yeah.
But if you have really high dissatisfaction, but really low vision or no vision, also going to get you nowhere, right? But if you're really high or even really medium, whatever the case may be, there has to be dissatisfaction and vision there. You have to multiply the two to get to the outcome, which is we're gonna find the actual formula.
I'm looking for it. I can't find
the slides, but it was just like, whoa, mind blown right there. It's like we have to have both in order to propel us forward into the new phases of our life, the new journeys that we're supposed to be on. And that's just like earlier this year, we the bricks hitting us over the head. We needed to make a huge change and what caused us to do that was the dissatisfaction, as well as our vision for more, our vision for being a more prominent part of our community, a vision for even giving back and all that. And it has propelled us forward.
And for me, this satisfaction was something I tried to avoid. You know, I want everything to just be perfect because I don't know if it's something that brought me from my childhood, but I feel like if I'm dissatisfied or I'm dissatisfying someone, that was a negative thing. And so I'm even working on my mindset that, you know, this is part of your journey and you need this in order to be successful.
Okay.
She found it.
I found it. Dissatisfaction times vision plus your first steps must be greater than resistance in order for it to get anywhere, right? Yeah. So dissatisfaction times vision plus your first steps, that must be greater than resistance in order for you to change. It's the formula for change. And we were just like breaking down that formula. And we're just like, whoa, that's so powerful. Yeah. Love that. Anyways, yeah.
I always like the one, the pain of change has to be less than the pain you're in to make the decision, to take the steps.
Same thing, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it's very similar, right?
Very similar.
Yeah.
Yes, I love that. I'm writing that down. Yeah.
Alrighty. You ready for the last question?
All right.
What do you like to do in your spare time?
Okay. So I'm a big gamer. I like video games. But I also like to, we work out quite a bit. But I also like to code for fun. I know it's kind of crazy, but I also like to tutor for fun. You know, I love to teach and stuff. So very much in that vein. I video games, tutoring, working out, hanging with friends, eating food. You know, like, what about you?
Definitely eating, yoga, working out, but I do like to read and listen to podcasts that has a lot to do with entrepreneurship and business.
Yeah.
And it sounds so boring to a lot of people. People are like, that's like, but I love it. And then Mike would look at me and be like, but you're not relaxing. I was like, but that's how I relax. I have to read and absorb all this knowledge. So that's definitely what I do. That's fun to me, but not a lot of fun for a lot of people.
The only time I don't find it relaxing is when it has my brain just racing. So like that's the only time. And I love podcasts. Shan knows. So, you know, we're both realtors and we're in financial services. So we help people with their retirement. And so we used to be on the road all the time, like hours each day. Yeah. Like it's like usually 3 to 4 hours of car time each and every day. And so we would just listen to podcasts nonstop. Even before me getting into real estate and financial services, I worked at HP as a project manager, and I used to commute about an hour each way. And so I just listened to podcasts the whole time. And now we've transitioned to COVID. Now I'm listening to podcasts like in the morning when I'm brushing my teeth and in the shower. I don't even know if our speaker is waterproof, but I take it in there.
Right.
Okay. And I listen to podcasts, but as long it's relaxing to me and I love it as long as it doesn't make my mind just go for a run, which it typically is doing. So sometimes I'll have to be like, okay, I'm going to put on The Office on TV and
we do that too.
I love The Office. I'm just,
Office, you know, one of those,
Exactly.
just to like
Hilarious.
unwind and like disconnect. But sometimes podcasts will do that to me where it's like, oh my gosh, Shenice, stop.
Yeah.
Think about the business. Stop thinking about all these ideas, you know? So I love it. Love it. Love it.
I still get my music in there. I listen to podcasts, but I definitely get my music in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. All righty. So please tell us, how can our audience get in touch with you?
Yeah, okay, that's fine. Typically your beat, but no. So you can find us on dumplingdudes.com, Dumpling Dudes with a Z. And then you can also find us on Instagram, same way, Dumpling Dudes, and you can find us on Facebook also.
And LinkedIn.
And LinkedIn also, yeah, LinkedIn. I always forget about LinkedIn. I'm not as active.
Yeah. And we will include links to all of these in the show notes. I mean, this has been amazing. Thank you for accepting our invitation to be our guests. We love learning so much about you, and thank you for sharing your story. I think it's so powerful. And
Thank you for starting the company.
Yes. Yes. Because I mean, I don't know what, I feel like I say it to Shan like every week, like, Shan, we need to order some dumplings. Like I my life. Like, let's get this done. Okay. I really look forward to seeing y'all grow and what the future holds. I mean, I want to see y'all, like, I want to be able to go to HEB and take it out of the freezer section so I could take it home and bake it.
Exactly.
That's exactly where I want y'all on the product side to be. But then we'll show up for all the experiences whenever get back.
Have you guys ever heard of the show Houston Living?
Houston Life?
No, I think it's called Houston Living. They kind of showcase small companies and things like that.
It sounds familiar. I feel like I have.
Yeah, I think that's gonna be y'all stepping stone to making it out there. So I'm gonna see if I know somebody that can do something.
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah, thank y'all so much for being on. We look forward to it. We want to see you flourish, which I'm sure you will. I think you have a great business, great product, great services, great energy. So thank you. And y'all have a wonderful week.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Wine, though.
Not wine.
You guys are in New Braunfels, so
We are, yes.
Yeah.
We're gonna go have some wine, I think, today. We'll see. It's a little cold here today.
Wine us up.
Yes, wine will keep you warm. All right, bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye, guys. Thank you so much.
Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, and share the video to your friends. In the comment section down below, write how good the video was. And if you're listening to the podcast, make sure to hit a 5-star review. Bye.